Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with another patch notes review, and this one is for patch 3.1. Now, as you guys can see from the table of contents, it is a huge patch. And now I think this is what most people expected the patch to be for patch 3.0, but we got a really small patch, and now we're getting a huge one. So I guess this is probably in response to some of that backlash, but it's a really huge patch. So first up, let's just get straight into it. I want to try to make this as short of a video as possible because I know that it's going to be very long because of how much content there is, but I'm going to try to make it as short as possible so you guys don't have to spend like an hour watching the video or whatever. So I'm recording this like about 2 hours after they released this patch notes. I'm going to try to get it up on YouTube as fast as I can. But here we have Karma, the Enlightened One, the first new champion we have. And a lot of the content here has already been covered in the patch preview. Yeah, the patch 3.1 preview. Yeah, that's right, that's what it's called, the patch 3.1 preview. So I will be maybe glossing over a little bit. Like Karma, they already showed all of her abilities, like how she has her ultimate move to her passive, and she has a new huge AoE ultimate. So Karma, I feel, is gonna be making a pretty huge impact into the meta. And we have also Shen, a top lane tank, who has a huge taunt on his E. So we'll have to see how he goes as well. Obviously, new champions are going to be very interesting. And we got a new news tab, which is going to be, I guess, useful. Not too important. And as you guys know, the rank season is going to end in like 3 days time. So it will begin on March 26th, at 7 a.m. GMT plus 8. So the new skin is Glorious Crimson Evelynn, which we already know from the preview. Rank Star will be adding some new stuff like Glorious Jinx, and also like the new weapon upgrades or whatever it's called for Evelynn. So we also have a new WoW Pass, which of course we already know is going to be Psychic Detective Senna. Really cool, getting a nice new Senna skin, which will be ready when the update is live. So next up we have Elemental Rift. So we already know from the preview that Elemental Rift is not going to be added to ranked. It's going to be a separate queue, so for testing purposes. So I don't know how many people are actually going to test it, but with Elemental Rift, Cloud Dragon is removed. But take note that Cloud Dragon is still going to be around in normal ranked mode because Elemental Rift is not actually in normal ranked mode already. So in case you guys didn't get the memo, Mountain Rift forms new terrain, which basically means new walls, new rocks. Infernal Rift burns away walls like this one. Now red buff can be accessed from both sides. And Ocean Rift spawns more bushes, basically Rengar's heaven, and also some extra honey fruit along the way. So when you slay 3 dragons, you get a new soul, or a powerful soul, or whatever you call it. You get a soul when you get 3 dragon kills. Of course, there's only 3 that you can get: Mountain, Infernal, and Ocean. So Mountain Soul gives you a huge shield. Actually, we'll get into that later when we move to that part of the patch notes. Now, Mountain Dragon increases your defensive stats. And the Mountain Soul gives you a huge shield after not taking damage. I believe should be for 5 seconds out of combat. Infernal Soul gives you bonus attack stats for both AD and AP. And the Infernal Soul gives you a AoE on your attack, which is why Infernal Soul is normally thought to be the strongest soul. Now, Ocean Soul gives you health, like Omnivamp, I guess, Lifesteal. Whereas Ocean Dragon gives you more HP restore over time. So that's like passive HP regen. So, and that's about it for the soul. And lastly, we have Elder Dragon, which is going to be like the PC version of Elder Dragon, where like if people fall below 20% health, you get an automatic execute. Now, there are there's like one huge question here, which is this buff permanent? Because if this buff is permanent, pretty much getting Elder Dragon means you win the game. But if it's like PC, where Elder Dragon only lasts for X number of minutes, then another Elder Dragon will spawn where you have to fight for it again, that will be way more balanced. And I think that is probably the direction that we are going to be going, because I can't really see Elder Dragon buff being permanent. If not, it's going to be way too OP. I guess that we'll find that out when we actually test the Elemental Rift. But anyways, it isn't really a huge question, but it's just more of a statement, is that Elder Dragon only spawns when one team gets a soul in PC, and I believe it should be the same when Dragon Soul is taken by a team. So that is the same. So potentially what could happen is Team A gets a dragon, Team B gets a dragon, Team A gets a dragon, Team B gets a dragon, and then one of the teams get a dragon. So total 5 normal dragons are gonna spawn before someone gets a soul, and then the mountain dragon, not mountain dragon, then the elder dragon will spawn. So if the timers still remain the same, the first dragon spawns at 4 minutes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means the elder dragon is gonna spawn at 20 minutes. So that's pretty late into the game if that's their intention. But yeah, so they also did mention that they want to shift the timings of the objective spawns to later on in the game to create a longer laning phase. I assume somewhere to 5 minutes, so we don't know if that changes life either. That was the second question, it just came to my mind. So those are two huge questions about it. So next we have a couple of skins. Of course we have Psychic Detective Senna on the Wild Pass. We have the release skins for Shin and Karma. And we have three April Fool's Day skins coming out on March 31st. So we got a whole ton of accessories. You can see some pretty cool ones like the Thresh Poro, the Jin Poro, probably a Detective Lucian kind of thing. And this is probably from the event that's coming up. Of course, the ranked emotes. And yeah, so as you guys can see, a lot of new accessories. So the event, there will be a Protectors of Ionia event releasing, I assume together with the patch, at 8 a.m. So there is going to be that event. Perhaps we might be able to get Shen or Karma for free. You know how they like to do things. That is not going to be a surprise to me if that is the case. So we got an April Fool's Day event. It's called Season of Silly. And now we can finally move on to the champion changes. Alright, so this one got me a good chuckle when I first saw it. Ashe AD ratio on volley going down from 110% to 100%. I mean, did Ashe really need a nerf? Ashe is already so weak in terms of damage. The only thing she's good at is the utility with her slows and her ultimate. But did she really do too much damage? Like, they say that she's outperforming her fellow marksman. I don't think so as a Dragon Lane main. So yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't think that was needed at all. If anything, I think she should be getting a buff instead. So maybe like 110 to 120 instead. But they're going the wrong direction on Ashe. So yeah. Now Blitzcrank is getting a very, very interesting change. So first up, he's getting some base stat nerfs, which is his armor going down by 5 and his armor per level going down by 0.4. Therefore, his total armor at level 15 is going down to 111 from 122. So that's total of 11 armor nerf. It's not too huge 11 armor nerf in like the late game of losing in terms of base stats. It's not huge, but it's not negligible either. So it's just compensation for this. I guess is supposed to be a buff, but I see it as it could be. I see it as a mini rework. I wouldn't see it as a buff. So the first part remains the same. There's no change on this part, but there is now a 1 second cooldown, and you can reactivate this ability. So what happens when you reactivate it? You get a lot more movement speed than what you got. So here, oops, not that. So here you got like 50 to 65 movement speed. Here you get 140 to 170% movement speed. Now that's insane movement speed. Like no one can outrun this kind of movement speed. Like I think like this is the kind of movement speed you get when like you ghost and you use your righteous glory together kind of movement speed. I don't know if that's an over exaggeration, but I feel like that's the kind of movement speed this is. Like huge amount of movement speed here, and it decays to 25% over 1.5 seconds. So obviously it's not for the entire duration. But yeah, so when the overdrive ends, the thing about this is that Blitzcrank is slowed by 33% for 1.5 seconds on the first cast, but if you double cast it, you're slowed by 99% for 2 seconds. Now this is basically rooting yourself. Like 99% slow is like like the Dust Blade proc, that's like 99% slow for 0.5 seconds. So this is pretty much as good as rooting yourself for 2 seconds. So that is a huge drawback. If they didn't have this ability would be pretty broken, but 99% slow for 2 seconds is pretty huge. I mean, even if you give like a 50 or 60% slow over 2 seconds, that's already pretty bad. But 99% slow for 2 seconds is basically CCing yourself and like rooting yourself on the spot for 2 seconds. And Morgana binding is like 3 seconds, so you can imagine how long 2 seconds is. Now this is going to be really interesting. I'm not too sure how it's going to shake up how Blitzcrank works, but I do think this is a very interesting and very welcome change. So Fiora finally getting a nerf, base damage nerf of 10 on all ranks for her lunge. Now honestly, that's a very minor nerf. I still think Fiora is going to be very, very good, especially with the new item, so I don't think it's going to affect Fiora's standing in the meta, but I do like the direction that they're going. So Galio, Tank Galio in particular is getting very popular according to them, according to Riot that is. So they're adjusting his hero's entrances. The base damage is going down by 50 at base rank and 100 at higher rank, at max rank I mean. But they're increasing his AP ratio from 70% to 100%. So that means that if you build AP Galio, you're likely to reach roughly the same numbers and be unaffected. But if you're building Tank Galio, your ultimate is overall going to be doing a lot less damage. But the thing about it is that Tank Galio doesn't really need damage on his ultimate anyway. Like, you use his ultimate just for getting around the map and for giving that magic damage shield to your allies, but it's mostly just for getting to where they are to help out in the fight. So I don't really think the damage is going to be all that important. I think that if you're playing Tank Galio, it's still going to be completely fine. So Garen is, now like dominating the meta. You even see like Garen mid a lot. So instead, he's gonna get like a lot of nerfs on his E and his ultimate, which is probably his two most important tools. Although his silence is pretty important as well. So base damage on his E spin is going down by 2 at all ranks. And the total base damage for all ticks is going down, therefore, as a result of this. And max rank is going down by like 16. And same for first rank. So it's basically going down by 16. Now 16 damage in total is not a lot. Of course, this doesn't take into account the crit if you hit them at the edge. So I like where this is going. I think Garen been doing a lot, way too much damage, but I would like to instead see something like a 80 ratio change on the E instead of like a base damage nerf. But I like where this is going. So Demacian Justice, his ultimate base damage is going down at later ranks by 25 and 50. At base rank, it's still the same. And the damage to your non-primary target is also going down at the second and third rank. Now, here we have bonus AD ratio. Is going up on the targets missing, in terms of targets missing health, in terms of both primary and non-primary target. I like this change because it means that if you want to do more damage as Garen, you have to build more AD, which would make you less tanky. So you can choose between going a more damagey Garen and a more tanky Garen, which I feel should kind of be the way. Because as of now, he can do way too much damage and he's also very tanky. I would like to see something like this kind of change on his like E as well. Something like that. So yeah. Okay, now we have Graves, which is his end of the line, his Q doing 150% damage against monsters. And you guys saw my Graves complete guide. Graves already clears the jungle very fast and very healthily. So this is going to make his jungle clear way faster. He's going to power farm way faster. And I think this is a great buff for Graves. Now, Irelia is getting... I have no idea what this is though. Her base attack speed is going from 8 squiggly line 15% to 5 squiggly line 20%. Now, is that squiggly line supposed to be a dash? So is it from like 8 to 15% going to like 5 to 15%, basically making it weaker in the early game and stronger in the late game? Or is that supposed to be like 8.5% to 5.20%? I think it's the first one. So I'm going to say that this makes Irelia weaker in the early game and better in the late game, so she gets like better scaling. Alright. So Blade Surge cooldown is dropping by 2 seconds at every rank. So that's her Q. And this is actually a pretty huge buff because, sometimes you just mess up by accidentally not executing a target and you don't get a reset. And therefore, this 6 seconds is huge from 8 seconds. Like 2 seconds makes a big difference when you're in the middle of a fight. And Irelia being a fighter who can stay in the fight for a long time, it does mean that she could, possibly get back that cooldown and use it again. So that could be huge. Now, here we go. This is my favorite change of the whole patch. Jhin is finally getting a buff. So he did get a nerf on his base health, going down 40, of course Riot's favorite number, but his passive is getting a huge buff. So what's happening here is normally you have your missing health, physical damage 15%. This is on your 4th shot. By the way, they didn't actually mention it explicitly here, but this is on his 4th shot. So 15% is going up to 15% plus 1% per level, but it's capped at 25% at level 11. So Jhin finally getting some scaling on his 4th shot, similar to PC. Now this means that Jhin is very strong early and mid game already. He's going to be strong in the late game, and I think, guys, Jhin is back. I'm going to be definitely playing Jhin. You guys can expect a Jhin video coming out real soon. And I've already been spamming Jhin because I already know that from the Chinese leaks that Jhin is gonna get buffed. So I've played like 10 matches of Jhin recently and I won like 7 or or 8 of them, and I carried like at least 5 of them. I'm talking like 15-1 kind of carry on Jin. And Jin, oh boy, he is already pretty good in the early to mid game, but now he has a late game, and I think Jin is back. All right. So now we're gonna move on to Master Yi, who's getting a sort of a mini rework on his Q, where this part is the same. So the first part is the same. Everything is the same. The only part that's new is the new effect. So as you guys know, Master Yi Alpha Strike procs 4 times, but you only proc it once on a target normally. So instead, if you only have one target, you can strike the same target repeatedly, but you deal 25% damage with each subsequent strike. Now, I don't know if this is cumulative, so is it like you do 100% damage on your first strike, 25% damage on your second strike, 25% damage of 25% damage on your third strike, and 25% of 25% of 25% of your damage on your fourth strike. Now, I don't think that is it. I think it's like 100%, 25%, 25%, 25% for your latter 3 strikes, but the way that the English is phrased here makes me think that it could be the first one, although I think that wouldn't really make sense. So anyways, what this will do is, number one, it will improve his jungle clear, especially like on single target camps like Buff or Grom, so he will get a faster clear. And secondly, if of course he's one-on-one against an enemy without minions around or what, this will of course increase his damage. No matter how much less damage the 25% is, it's still more damage than what he used to get. So this is going to overall increase Master Yi's damage. So this is especially going to be really good in low elo. In high elo, I still think Master Yi is not going to be too good. But yeah. So Nami getting a movement speed nerf on her passive by 10. This is a very interesting part of Nami to nerf, because I thought that you could be nerfing a lot of other parts of Nami, but you chose to nerf her passive, which I think it is. I think her passive is very good, but I think it's very interesting they gave the nerf to her passive, which, yeah, I think it's a good nerf because Nami has been really strong. So Riven is actually getting a buff, where her shield duration is going up from 1.5 seconds to 2, and this and in my personal opinion, I really think Riven is very good. I think she's just very underrated, so I think this will make Riven great, especially there's gonna be a lot of top lane items that we'll get into later. So Xin Zhao, damage falls off, and I do agree with this one. Xin Zhao used to be pretty strong at a certain point in time, but nowadays you do feel like he is not as good as he used to be, although he was not actually nerfed at all. So instead now he's getting more damage on his 3 talent strike at later ranks, and its cooldown is going down by 1 second at all ranks. This is his Q. Wind becomes lightning, his W, getting more damage in in all ranks except the first one, same as the 3 talent strike. So better damage numbers on Xin Zhao's skills. I think he needed that. Now Yasuo getting a buff. Now this is in compensation, I believe, to the nerf on Solari Charge Blade. His whirlwind speed going from 10 to 11.5%, so it's going to be that much harder to dodge it, and his range is going up by 1. Now this is nothing to scoff at. 1 range seems like very little, but that 1 range could make all the difference between hitting the tornado and not, in addition to the wind speed. So Yasuo getting in my opinion, it's a very huge buff. So I don't like that. I don't think Yasuo really needs a buff. Zed getting a huge nerf though, and I think this was definitely needed to put him in line with League PC. Now if you guys didn't know, his E on all his shadows did 100% damage, but no longer will that be the case. Damage dealt by subsequent slashes on his E after the first one is going down to 60%, which is how it was like in PC, how it is like in PC, and now Wild Rift is the same. And I do think that was really needed, not because of to align with League PC, but just because Zed does too much damage, as we all know. Zed, S plus rank mid laner in my previous tier list. And speaking of which, this tier list for this patch is gonna take some time to come out, because there's so many changes over here that I'm gonna need a long time to really see who's good and who's not. And the items especially is gonna shake up the meta a whole lot. So Ziggs, Minefield, which is his E, the mind duration that is staying active on the map, going down from 10 seconds to 7 seconds. Now, I never actually noticed that it stayed on the map for that long anyway, but yeah, so not nerfing his damage directly, but nerfing his area control instead, which I kind of like. So Earth changes, I don't really care about them. I only played like 2 or 3 matches of Earth. I'm not a fan of Earth, but I'm scrolling through so you guys can take a look. Alright, so Item changes. Black Cleaver ability haste going down by 5. Now, Black Cleaver was a pretty OP item, like a very, very OP item for a long time, and getting 5 ability haste nerf, I don't think it's going to make it that much weaker, but I do think that the fact that now there's a lot of other item choices for people who like to build Black Cleaver, I do think that that might be the indirect, it's not an indirect nerf, but it's going to indirectly make Black Cleaver less popular, I feel. So Death's Dance getting a mini rework. Basically, now instead of getting health, we're getting armor. So it's gonna give armor, AD, and ability haste. The cost is still the same, but the build path is different now. So now what you get is you store post mitigation damage, 35% for melee, 15% for range. So this is gonna be a lot weaker on ranged champions compared to the old Death's Dance. So it's going to be that over 3 seconds, dealing a third of the stored damage per second. Now this part objectively is the same as the Cauterize, old Cauterize passive. The only real change here is that range only gets 15% stored damage instead of 35% stored damage. So essentially they're trying to force this onto melee champions, and they don't want ranged champions to really take it. So now the next part that is a new effect is Champion Takedown removes Ignore Pain's remaining stored damage, which is this one. So imagine if you have 3 seconds of stored damage, you kill someone, now you're gonna remove that 3 seconds of stored damage. So that could be removing a whopping like 30% of the damage that you take, but most likely it's gonna be like 20% or 10% because it's really difficult to do that. But yeah, and it'll heal you for 15% of your max health for 2 seconds. Not your current health, your max health. Now, I feel like this item is going to be OP on top laners. And melee top laners especially. Like, think like, Fiora, maybe like Camille, maybe like Garen, maybe Darius. Those kind of people. It's going to be really good on those people. So I feel like it's going to be a top lane meta, possibly, really soon. So Dead Man's Plate, movement speed going down from 50 to 40 to make people a bit slower. I think good nerf. Dead Man's Plate is really strong, so I do like this nerf. Now, new item, Divine Sunderer. Of course, this is a mythic item in League PC. It is a Sheen item, so building Divine Sunderer, you can build like a Lich Bane, you can build like a more notably, you can build a Triforce. So you can build like both Triforce and Divine Sunderer, but it is cheaper than Triforce just by a little bit. So because total cost is 3,300. It gives you 20 AD, 400 health, and 20 ability haste. So it doesn't, instead of giving you like attack speed and movement speed, it gives you like instead it gives you like health and like sustain and tankiness basically. So here, as you guys can see, Spellblade, when you use a ability, your next basic attack will deal a percentage of your target's maximum health. So it's kind of like a shredding-ish item like Bork. As physical damage on hit, so on hit, which is why it's good on Ezreal, with a minimum damage equal to 225% base AD and maximum damage against monsters, blah blah blah. Not too important, that part. If the target is a champion, now this is the important part, heal for 7% melee, 3% range of the target's maximum HP, and a minimum heal of 90% melee, 50% range base AD. So yeah, this is gonna be really good on Fiora, on Camille, on Ezreal, that kind of thing. So probably I'll be doing an Ezreal Divine Sunderer video sooner or later, but yeah. So Fimbulwinter getting a rework to put it in line with the League PC one. So ability haste going up by 5, and they changed this entire part so that it grants bonus health equal to 8% maximum mana instead of granting ability haste. Now this led to like some tank champions like Tank Rise. Now can I see a tank like Orianna or something being in Wild Rift? I can see that, but I don't think it's very likely. Yeah, so now immobilizing or slowing an enemy. Now this changed from immobilizing only to immobilizing or slowing. So a lot more people can proc this because of slows, because a lot of champions have slows. So or slowing an enemy consumes 3% current mana and grants a shield for 3 seconds, absorbing 100 to 200, scaling by level, and 5% current mana, increasing by 80% if there's more than one enemy champion nearby. So basically this is going to grant a shield. I think it's going to be good on people like Alistar, maybe Rakan, probably tank engage supports, I feel, but it could be, used for like mid laners like maybe Orianna or maybe like, a Ziggs. I can't really see it happening, but I can see it happening, but I don't think it's very likely to happen. Mega Drive, this is pretty much getting a bug fix. where immobilizing an enemy champion reduces the cooldown of your active item by 15%, and it'll trigger multiple times if an effect hits multiple enemy champions at once. So if like Rakan gets a 5-man knockup, you're gonna get that 15% 5 times instead of just once, which is what it's supposed to be all along according to Riot Instead, but they just had a bug which made it such that it didn't. So this is how the item's supposed to be like, and now I feel the item will be viable because of that huge cooldown you can get, and possibly activate your redemption or lock it twice in a fight. Now, last new item, Hulkbreaker, which it costs 3k and builds from BF Sworddrama's Fist, gives you 55 AD, 300 health, and this passive which makes split pushing OP. So, when there are no allied champions nearby, you get bonus armor and magic resist, and you deal bonus 20% damage to structures, and your nearby siege and super minion, this is the cannon minion, and gain bonus armor and magic resist as well, bonus size, and 200% damage against structures. So your minions are going to do more damage against structures, so are you, and both of you are going to get more defenses, so easier to take towers. Yeah. So bonus resistances provided by Hulkbreaker are removed immediately when allied champions are nearby. Now on League PC, that was like 3 seconds, so it's not on Wild Rift. Just take note of that. And next, Slurry Charge Blade, getting, in my opinion, it's a huge nerf, but I understand why they did it. Because a lot of champions, like for example Rengar and Riven, were taking Charge Blade because they could get the charges very easily and they just randomly crit you. So now what they're doing is, when you use the ability, you still gather 3 charges, but you don't actually get the bonus 25% crit chance anymore. Instead, you will deal the bonus magic damage, which can critically strike, but you don't have the missing health modifier anymore. So now basically, in my view, what this is it's pretty much like a static shift without the AoE. Is pretty much what I think it is, because you don't get the extra crit anymore. You get bonus magic damage, doesn't scale off health. You get bonus magic damage, which can critically strike. Basically, it's a static shift without the AoE. Now, I expect the numbers to be better than static shift, because if not, this is just an inferior version of static shift. But I do indeed expect this to, just be a more damagey but less AoE version of static shift is what I think is gonna be. But we're gonna see how this changes the builds on a lot of ADCs, like like Lucian, who relies on Slurry Charge Blade. So we're gonna have to see. Now Stormrazor getting a huge buff in my opinion. Now this is gonna make Jhin even better if he goes like a Stormrazor, Caitlyn, Tristana kind of thing. So here, what they're doing is you're gonna now get 40 AD. So the cost is going up by 200, but instead of 25 AD, you get 40 AD. Now, in my opinion, that's a really good deal. So it's now not a cheap item anymore. It's now in line with like the other crit attack speed items, but you get the AD. Now this is huge. I feel like a lot of champions, not a lot of champions, but like the Jins, Tristanas, and Caitlyns of the world will go like IE into Stormrazor now, because now it actually gives more damage. So Youmuu's Ghostblade getting the same nerf as Deadman's Plate. I feel Deadman's Plate needed the nerf more than Ghostblade, but I guess Ghostblade, I think 10 movement speed nerf and max stack's not the worst in the world. Now, this is a long one, but now we're getting to the Summoner spell changes. Now, Exhaust, instead of being a flat 20% slow, is going to be a 60% decaying slow and cooldown going down by 5 seconds. So basically, this just basically means you can run away easier or prevent people from reaching you a lot more easily when you use Exhaust. This doesn't affect the damage, of course, the damage aspect of the Exhaust, but it's the slow aspect of the Exhaust. Now, Heal is getting changed such that it's a lot more beneficial for supports to take Heal. Effects are increased by 100% on the most wounded nearby ally champion, so this is a new effect. So your ally heal is like that, ally movement speed is like that, then they're nerfing your own heal quite significantly to compensate for this one. Base movement speed going down for yourself, and cooldown going up by 10 seconds. I think cooldown not too huge of a deal, and I think this is gonna make the supports taking heal is gonna be meta if it wasn't meta already. So Ignite is getting stronger in the early game but weaker in the late game. I feel this is a good change because Ignite is always meant for you to snowball the game anyways. It's not really that useful in late game. It's sort of like for you to get a lead in lane early game. So I do like this change. Smite getting a very interesting change where it normally used to increase damage you deal to monsters by 10%, but now it only increases ability damage. So basically what this does is it makes all melee junglers who auto attack across the board have a slower jungle clear. Now the reason I don't think this is going to be too huge of a change is basically it affects the entire jungle pool with the exception of AP junglers like like Evelynn or like Morgana who rely on their spells instead of their auto attack. So this is probably just it's a nerf across the board to every single jungler. So overall, if everybody is nerfed by the same amount, it is no net change in terms of comparing clear speeds, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So the goal in XP nerf for killing minions in lane is going up to 6 minutes from 5 minutes, so they're trying to keep you in the jungle even more, which I can understand. Now, this part is pretty simple actually. Every dragon is going down by 1%, so including Cloud Dragon, which still exists in ranked, of course, because we don't have Elemental Rift in ranked yet. So 6% health going to 5% health, 6% move speed going to 5% move speed, 8% vamp going to 7% vamp, and 6% damage going to 5% damage. So overall, they're making all dragons weaker. And Elder Dragon is getting a pretty interesting change. So the effect, instead of increasing by 33% for every other dragon, is going to 25%. And what this means is, as you guys can see, it's going to be a nerf on dragon stacking. Or rather, it's not really. It is a nerf on dragon stacking, but if you get like an Elder Dragon without getting previous dragons, it's gonna be the same thing. But if you have been stacking your dragons and if you take Elder Dragon, it's gonna be a little bit weaker. And on the other hand, each of the individual dragons are also getting like an adjustment, like in early parts, early levels. You do get a little bit more, but at later levels you do get a little bit less. Overall, I think that this nerf is pretty negligible, because it's only like by like 0.5, by like 1, like doesn't really matter. I don't think so, so I don't really care about that too much. Now Baron base health going up by 800, and they're nerfing its acid shot. Now acid shot is the one where like 5 missiles drop from the sky. Players that take more than 1 shot of acid take 70% damage after the first shot, because some people who don't dodge it end up just dying to like 3 acid shots or something like that. It does a lot of damage. Don't get me wrong. Acid pools base damage is going up. Actually, which is the triple shot. I believe at the start of Baron, the triple shot, and the tentacle knockup, which speaks for itself. Damage is going up as well. So this is to compensate for the acid shot nerf, I guess you could say. So experience catch-up modifier is getting reduced so that you can get a more significant lead in lane, and therefore you can carry the game harder, which I think is a good change. And turret goal, basically the outer turrets are. Not outer turrets, all towers. The destroyer of the turret is going to be getting more gold, while their team is going to be getting less gold. So this rewards number 1 split pushing. It also rewards your own skill if you can get plates when you shove enemies out of lane, or you can get towers, that kind of thing. So that's why Hulkbreaker combined with like Divine Thunder, combined with top laners, combined with like this turret change, I feel it's going to make split pushing more meta, and I feel it's going to make top lane a broken OP role. So yeah, now extra bits, I'm gonna only talk about the important ones. If you're assigned to jungle, you automatically take smite. This is a thing where some people don't take smite because they don't want to or forget to, so they're gonna force you to take smite. I like that. Added first pick to champ select on blue team. So now some people can't actually tell whether they're first pick or not. Interestingly enough, in case you guys didn't know, you could actually tell based on where your bot and top lane is. If it's in normal positions, you are first pick. If it's swapped, you are second pick. But now that won't be a problem anymore. And this is actually quite a huge change. They added a thing to automatically attack an enemy after casting abilities that empower. So like Jax's W, Nasus's Q, Darius's W. That kind of like those that enhance your next auto attack kind of thing. So that is gonna basically make it easier for you to attack enemies, which you are gonna want to do anyway after you empower an ability. And yeah, so it's just gonna make things easier. So yeah, so lastly, Camille quality of life change, added a resource bar. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully it wasn't too long for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.